Have you ever thought your healthy morning oatmeal could be quietly working against you? It's a surprising question, especially if you've made the switch to oatmeal in the hopes of taking better care of your heart, blood sugar, or digestion. And the truth is, you're not wrong. Oatmeal, in its purest form, is one of the best breakfasts out there. It's full of soluble fiber, gentle on the stomach, and helps manage cholesterol. But here's what most people don't realize. It's not just about the oats. It's about what you mix into them. That simple bowl can quickly go from helpful to harmful when you add the wrong ingredients. And unfortunately, many of those wrong ingredients are the very ones you've been told are healthy. Sweeteners, fruit toppings, flavored packets. They might look innocent, even nutritious. But for someone in their 60s, 70s, or beyond, your body no longer processes these extras the way it used to. Your digestion slows, your insulin response changes, and your liver and kidneys have to work harder to filter out what was once no big deal. What seems like a harmless splash of creamer or handful of granola might actually be triggering fatigue, belly fat, or even silent damage to your organs. And that's what makes it so tricky. Because the harm doesn't always feel immediate. That's why in this video we're breaking down 7 common oatmeal mix-ins that could be sabotaging your health. Some of them may surprise you. Others you've probably used for years without a second thought. But by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to avoid, what to replace it with, and how to turn your oatmeal back into the health-boosting breakfast it's meant to be. So stay with us until the end. Because one small change could mean better energy, better blood sugar, and a better day ahead. So let's start with the first, and perhaps most common, ingredient that quietly turns your oatmeal into a sugar bomb: brown sugar. It's the one that slips in without much thought, usually just a spoonful here and there, and it looks better than white sugar, right? A little darker, a little richer, maybe even more natural. But here's the hard truth. Your body doesn't see a meaningful difference. Brown sugar is still sugar, and after age 60, your body processes it more slowly, less efficiently, and with greater consequences. Just 1 tablespoon of brown sugar has about 12 to 13 grams of sugar, enough to cause a significant blood sugar spike, especially first thing in the morning when your body is most sensitive. Research published in Diabetes Care shows that older adults often experience a 30% slower insulin response compared to younger individuals, meaning those sugar spikes last longer and hit harder. And what goes up must come down. That's why many people feel great right after breakfast, and then exhausted, foggy, or even hungrier an hour later. That roller coaster isn't random. It's your body struggling to stabilize. And over time, this daily spike and crash pattern wears down your insulin sensitivity and increases your risk of developing type 2 diabetes, even if your overall diet looks healthy. I remember a woman named Janet, 67 years old, who swore by her oatmeal with a little brown sugar and skim milk. She thought she was making the right choice, but every morning by 10:30 she needed a nap. She blamed her sleep, her age, never her breakfast. But after reviewing her routine with her doctor, she tried cutting the brown sugar. Within days, her energy stabilized. Her mood improved. "I had no idea it was that one scoop," she told me. "I thought sugar was only bad if you overdid it." But the truth is, for someone in their 60s or 70s, even just enough sugar can be too much. There's another hidden cost. Sugar triggers the release of dopamine, your brain's pleasure chemical. And once that wears off, it often leaves you wanting more. It's not about weak willpower. It's about brain chemistry. That one sweet spoonful can set the tone for sugar cravings all day. And if you're trying to manage your weight, reduce belly fat, or control inflammation, that one scoop becomes a silent saboteur. But here's the good news. You can still enjoy a touch of sweetness without the crash. Instead of brown sugar, try a few slices of ripe banana, a sprinkle of cinnamon, or a dash of vanilla. These offer gentle, natural flavor along with fiber, antioxidants, and potassium, things your body can actually use. And they don't spike your blood sugar the way refined sugar does. It's not about giving up what you love. It's about adjusting just enough to support your changing body. Because when you start your day with stable blood sugar, everything works better. Your energy, your memory, your mood, and something as small as skipping that scoop could make all the difference. Moving on, let's talk about something that's often seen as a smarter alternative to sugar: artificial sweeteners. For many older adults trying to manage their blood sugar or cut back on calories, those tiny pink, yellow, or blue packets feel like a lifeline. No sugar, no problem, right? Unfortunately, it's not that simple. In fact, the very thing marketed as diabetic-friendly might be quietly disrupting your metabolism, your gut, and even your liver. Studies from the Journal of the American Geriatric Society have shown that long-term use of artificial sweeteners like aspartame, sucralose, and saccharin is linked to increased insulin resistance and higher risk of metabolic syndrome, especially in people over 60. Here's why that matters. Your body is hardwired to expect calories when it tastes sweetness. But when it gets sweetness with no calories, like it does with artificial sweeteners, it gets confused. That mismatch may lead to a rise in insulin even without real sugar present. Over time, this can trick your body into storing more fat, craving more food, and slowing your metabolism. And for seniors, whose hormone regulation is already more delicate, that subtle shift can have a major impact on weight, blood sugar, and overall energy. I think of Charles, a 74-year-old retired teacher who used to add sugar-free syrup and artificial sweeteners to his morning oatmeal. "I thought I was doing everything right," he said. "No sugar, low calories. What could go wrong?" But after months of fatigue, bloating, and unexplained weight gain around his midsection, his doctor ran a liver panel. The results showed elevated liver enzymes, a sign that his liver was under stress. No alcohol, no junk food, just those seemingly harmless sweeteners. Once he stopped using them and switched to natural flavorings like cinnamon and a few berries, not only did his digestion improve, but his follow-up labs showed a healthier liver profile. "I didn't think a sweetener could do that," he told me, "but now I know my body was paying the price every day." And that's the real danger, because these effects often come on slowly, without loud symptoms. Your liver works quietly in the background, processing not only food, but medications, toxins, and everything else your body needs filtered. After 60, it doesn't bounce back the way it used to. Artificial sweeteners might not spike your blood sugar the way regular sugar does, but they still demand something in return, and that cost is often hidden until it's too late. The emotional part? Many people feel betrayed. They were trying, they were careful, and they still ended up with problems they didn't see coming. That's why it's so important to stop relying on chemicals to do a natural job. If you want sweetness in your oatmeal, try a few slices of fresh fruit, a dash of almond extract, or even nutmeg. These don't confuse your system. They nourish it. Your body knows what to do with real food, and when you give it what it recognizes, it thanks you with steadier energy, calmer digestion, and a clearer mind. It's not just about cutting sugar, it's about reclaiming balance, one honest bite at a time. And just when you think you've made a safe choice by turning to fruit, here's another hidden trap: dried fruit. On the surface, it sounds healthy. After all, it is fruit, right? But the moment fruit is dried, everything changes. The water disappears, the volume shrinks, and what's left behind is a highly concentrated hit of sugar, mostly in the form of fructose, which is particularly hard on your liver. Unlike glucose, which your muscles and brain can use right away, fructose bypasses most of the body and heads straight to the liver, where it's either stored as fat or, worse, starts building up as fatty deposits. And here's the scary part. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, is now affecting nearly 1 in 3 adults over 60, many of whom never drank a drop of alcohol in their lives. The culprit? Excess sugar, especially fructose from things like dried fruit, sweetened beverages, and processed snacks. Let me tell you about Gerald, a 69-year-old former railroad worker who lived alone and loved keeping his breakfast simple: just oats, some milk, and a generous handful of dried apricots. He liked the taste and figured it was a good source of fiber, but over time he started feeling bloated every morning and noticed his blood pressure creeping up, even though nothing else in his diet had changed. At his next physical, his doctor noticed signs of early liver stress and suggested removing dried fruit for a few weeks. Gerald switched to fresh blueberries, and the difference was like night and day. "I didn't know something so small could throw everything off," he told me. "I thought I was doing the right thing, but it turns out those little pieces were packing more sugar than I realized." He wasn't alone. Just a 1/4 cup of dried cranberries can contain over 20 grams of sugar, much of it added during processing to keep the fruit soft and sweet. Even unsweetened varieties like raisins or dates carry a heavy load with a little water or fiber left to help slow down absorption. That means your liver takes the full hit day after day until symptoms start creeping in. And here's the emotional truth. For many older adults, that morning routine feels safe, comforting, even virtuous. But when your liver begins to struggle, the effects ripple outward: fatigue, inflammation, weight gain around the midsection, and even cognitive changes. You don't feel like yourself, and you don't know why. That's why this matters. Not to take away your sweetness, but to give you a better way to enjoy it. Instead of dried fruit, reach for the real thing: fresh apple slices, a few strawberries, or half a banana. These not only satisfy your sweet tooth, but also hydrate, nourish, and support your liver instead of burdening it. Because at this stage in life, your liver has already done decades of work for you. It deserves your protection now. And that protection can start with something as simple as what you stir into your oats tomorrow morning. If this helped you see oatmeal in a new light, please like, share, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear what ingredient you're ready to swap, and how you feel when you do. Your story might be the encouragement someone else needs to take that first step toward better mornings. Now, let's talk about something even more deceptive: those little flavored oatmeal packets that promise a quick and healthy breakfast in just a minute or two. For many older adults, especially those living alone or managing tight schedules, these packets feel like the perfect solution. Tear, pour, stir, done. But under that shiny label lies a mix of additives, sugars, and chemicals that can quietly undermine your health, especially after 60. First, let's look at the sodium. A single flavored oat packet can contain anywhere from 200 to 300 milligrams of sodium, and if you add milk or cook it with salted butter, that number climbs even higher. For someone over 60, the American Heart Association recommends no more than 100 milligrams of sodium per day, especially if you're dealing with high blood pressure, heart concerns, or kidney issues. Just 2 packets in the morning, and you're already a third of the way there. But sodium is only part of the problem. Many flavored packets get their taste not from real apples or cinnamon, but from artificial flavorings, colorings, stabilizers, and synthetic sweeteners. These ingredients may not raise your blood sugar, but they do something else. They force your liver and kidneys to work harder to filter them out. And when those organs are already managing decades of wear, medications, and slower function, even a small chemical load can create a burden that builds silently. Let me share a story about Carol, who's 73, a retired nurse who had eaten flavored oatmeal packets every morning for years. She liked the convenience and believed she was doing something good for her heart. But she began noticing swelling in her hands and ankles and a heavy, puffy feeling after breakfast. Her blood pressure was creeping up, and she was waking up feeling more fatigued, not less. After a visit to her doctor and a careful look at her daily routine, she decided to switch to plain rolled oats, adding her own chopped apple cinnamon and a few walnuts. Within 2 weeks, the swelling eased, her energy returned, and her morning blood pressure readings improved noticeably. She was stunned. "I trusted the packaging," she said. "I thought it was healthy, but it was just clever marketing." And that's exactly the issue. Words like heart healthy, low fat, and whole grain on a box sound comforting, but they often distract from what's really inside. 9 or 10 added ingredients, many of which you can't even pronounce. Ingredients designed for shelf life, not your health. And for an aging body, one that's more sensitive to inflammation, more prone to water retention, and slower to detox, those extras aren't neutral. They add up, they compound, and they do so quietly until the effects can't be ignored. But once you strip away the artificial fillers and bring your breakfast back to real whole ingredients, your body notices. It responds. And sometimes it only takes a few days to feel the difference. Not because you did something extreme, but because you finally removed what was holding you back. Building on that, let's turn to another ingredient that seems harmless, even comforting, but can quietly wreak havoc on your heart, liver, and metabolism. Non-dairy creamers. These powdered or liquid creamers often find their way into oatmeal because they make it taste richer, creamier, more indulgent. And for those avoiding dairy, they seem like the perfect substitute. But behind that smooth texture lies a cocktail of unhealthy fats, thickeners, and artificial additives, all of which can strain your aging body in ways you might not expect. The biggest concern? Trans fats. Many non-dairy creamers are made with hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils, even those that claim to be trans fat-free. That's because under FDA labeling rules, a product can still contain up to 0.5 grams of trans fat per serving and legally list it as 0. So if you're using creamer daily, or even more than once a day, those tiny amounts add up. And trans fats are especially dangerous for older adults. They raise your LDL, bad cholesterol, lower your HDL, good cholesterol, and significantly increase the risk of heart disease, which remains the #1 cause of death for people over 65, according to the CDC. But it doesn't stop there. These creamers are also loaded with emulsifiers, stabilizers, and synthetic flavorings, ingredients your body doesn't recognize as food. Instead, your liver and kidneys have to filter them out. And after decades of doing their job, those organs don't work as efficiently. For someone already managing medications or a mild chronic condition, the added burden can quietly lead to inflammation, digestive distress, and fatigue, even when the rest of the diet seems balanced. Let me tell you about Frank, a 75-year-old widower who took pride in preparing his own meals. He didn't think much about nutrition. He just liked what tasted good. Every morning he stirred powdered creamer into his coffee, his oatmeal, and sometimes even his soup. It was his go-to, but over time he began feeling bloated and sluggish. At his checkup, his cholesterol levels had climbed, and his doctor noticed signs of early liver stress. When they traced it back to his daily habits, the creamer came up again and again. Once Frank cut it out and switched to a splash of unsweetened almond milk, his numbers began to improve within weeks. "I didn't think a little scoop of powder could mess with my heart," he said, "but now I see it wasn't so little after all." That's the danger. It's easy to overlook. Creamers are marketed as light, convenient, even cholesterol-free, but that doesn't mean they're harmless. Especially not for a body that's earned the right to rest, recover, and function without the extra load. At this point in life, every ingredient you choose either supports your health or chips away at it slowly. And when it comes to what you stir into your oatmeal each morning, the difference between real nourishment and synthetic filler might be just one simple choice away. Next, let's talk about something that sounds healthy on the surface, but can quietly undo all the good your oatmeal is meant to do: store-bought granola. With its golden crunch and wholesome branding, granola often feels like the perfect topping. It looks natural, it tastes good, and it's sold as something heart-friendly. But most commercial granolas are far from what they appear. The reality is, they are often loaded with added sugars, refined oils, and even preservatives, all of which can cause inflammation, blood sugar spikes, and long-term stress on your metabolism, especially after age 60. The process of making granola shelf-stable and crunchy usually involves baking oats in sugar syrups and oils like canola, soybean, or palm oil. These oils are often refined and can be partially hydrogenated, contributing to chronic inflammation in the body. Inflammation, in turn, is at the root of many age-related issues, from stiff joints and fatigue to cardiovascular disease and cognitive decline. Even granolas, labeled low sugar or organic, often use sweeteners like honey, brown rice syrup, or evaporated cane juice. These sound more natural, but still act like sugar in your system. One serving, which is usually just a couple of tablespoons, can contain 10 to 15 grams of sugar and 150 plus calories. But most people use far more than that, unknowingly doubling or tripling the impact. That means your morning bowl can quickly turn into a hidden dessert, sweet, fatty, and calorically dense, without the fiber and nutrients needed to balance it out. I remember Ellen, a 71-year-old who was proud of her health routine. She walked every day, cooked at home, and always started her morning with oatmeal and a healthy handful of granola for crunch. But she noticed that by early afternoon, she often crashed. She felt tired, foggy, and craved snacks. When we looked closer, that granola was the culprit. Each day, she was unknowingly adding over 250 calories and more sugar than a chocolate chip cookie to her breakfast. Once she switched to chopped walnuts and unsweetened coconut flakes, her energy leveled out. Her blood sugar readings improved. And perhaps most importantly, her cravings in the afternoon disappeared. She told me, "I thought I was being good to myself. I had no idea it was hiding that much junk." And that's the emotional weight of this. Many people over 60 are making choices they believe are healthy, only to discover that marketing labels have led them astray. The truth is, your oatmeal doesn't need help from factory-made toppings. If you want crunch, reach for real food, raw almonds, pecans, pumpkin seeds, or sunflower seeds. These offer healthy fats, fiber, and minerals that support your heart, brain, and joints, not work against them. Because after all your body has done for you, it deserves the kind of fuel it can recognize and use. Not something designed to sit on a shelf for 6 months. What you sprinkle on your breakfast each morning may seem like a small detail, but over time, those small details shape how you feel, how you age, and how much energy you have to enjoy the day ahead. Finally, let's take a closer look at something that's often added with the best intentions: protein powder. As we get older, we're told that adding more protein to our meals can help preserve muscle, boost energy, and keep us feeling full longer. And while that's true in principle, the source of that protein makes all the difference. Not all powders are created equal. Many popular protein powders, especially flavored varieties, come packed with artificial sweeteners, preservatives, gums, and synthetic flavorings. These ingredients don't just pass through your system unnoticed. They require your liver and kidneys to work harder to break them down, filter them, and eliminate the excess. For someone in their 60s, 70s, or beyond, this extra work can slowly add up, especially if those organs are already handling medications or coping with age-related decline. On top of that, the quantity of protein in a single scoop often far exceeds what your body can process at one time. Unlike when you were younger, your aging body doesn't store excess protein for later. What it doesn't need gets filtered through the kidneys, which can quietly lead to increased strain or even elevate creatinine levels, a marker of kidney stress. According to research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, older adults with mildly reduced kidney function can see further decline when consistently consuming high-protein diets, particularly from processed sources. And the worst part? Many of these powders are marketed as clean or fitness-friendly, creating a false sense of health. I remember Dennis, a 78-year-old retired construction supervisor who added a scoop of protein powder to his oatmeal every morning because he read that older adults need more protein to stay strong. But after several months, his energy dipped, his appetite dropped, and his doctor noticed elevated kidney markers during a routine checkup. When they reviewed his diet, the only major change was that scoop of powder. After removing it and replacing his morning protein with a boiled egg or a spoonful of plain Greek yogurt, his labs improved, and so did his digestion and energy. "I thought more protein meant better health," he told me, "but I didn't realize the powder was overloading my system." And that's exactly the danger. It's easy to think more is better, especially when health advice seems to push protein at every turn. But at this stage in life, your body doesn't just need more. It needs better. It needs protein in forms it recognizes that come with other natural nutrients and don't carry a chemical burden. Real food sources like eggs, nuts, seeds, or dairy offer balanced nourishment without overwhelming your filtering systems. Because your organs have served you well for decades, and now they need your help. Every bite you take is a message to your body, either support or stress. And when it comes to your daily oatmeal, the difference between the two could be as simple as choosing whole foods over powder in a scoop. So now you know that simple bowl of oatmeal you've trusted for years isn't just about the oats. It's about what you add to them. Brown sugar, artificial sweeteners, dried fruits, flavored packets, non-dairy creamers, store-bought granola, and protein powders. They all sound harmless, maybe even healthy. But as we've seen, each one can quietly chip away at your energy, your blood sugar balance, and your long-term health, especially after 60. The truth is, your body has changed. What worked at 30 doesn't always work at 70. Digestion slows. The liver and kidneys carry a heavier load, and small choices, like what you stir into your oatmeal each morning, matter more than ever. But here's the good news. The fix is simple. You don't have to give up oatmeal. You just need to return to the basics. Plain oats, fresh fruit, real spices, natural toppings. Ingredients your body knows how to use. Ingredients that fuel you, not fight you. Because when you start your day with something steady, your whole day flows better. You think clearer, move easier, and feel stronger. So ask yourself, which of these 7 habits are you ready to let go of? And which one will you change tomorrow morning? If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear what change you're making and how it's working for you. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you won't miss our next video. We're here to help you age with strength, wisdom, and energy, one small habit at a time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.